Welcome everyone. We've still got a minute to go, but I just wanted to say hello to a few more people that have joined. We've got Alice Dunn. Great for you to tune in today. Rick O'Toole, Janet Blair. Great to have you all on the line. Do stick around. We're going to get started in a minute or so at 8 a.m. and we'll start reading chapter 1 of You Were Born Rich. And we'll see how far we get today with that chapter. So we're reading You Were Born Rich, written by Bob Proctor. I'm here with Bob at the moment at consultant training here in Toronto, and let's get into it. Me and Money, the Edgewater Beach Hotel. In 1923, at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago, 8 of the world's wealthiest financiers met. These 8 men controlled more money than the United States government at the time. They included the president of the largest independent steel company, the president of the largest gas company, the greatest wheat speculator, the president of the New York Stock Exchange, a member of the president's cabinet, the greatest bear on Wall Street, the head of the world's greatest monopoly, the president of the Bank of International Settlement. Certainly one would have to admit that a group of the world's most successful men was gathered in that place, at least, men who had found the secret of earning money. Now let's see where these men were 25 years later. The president of the largest independent steel company, Charles Schwab, lived on borrowed money for 5 years before he died bankrupt. The president of North America's largest gas company, Howard Hopson, went insane. The greatest wheat speculator, Arthur Cutten, died abroad insolvent. The president of the New York Stock Exchange, Richard Whitney, was sent to Sing Sing Penitentiary. A member of the president's cabinet, Albert Fall, was pardoned from prison so he could die at home. The greatest bear on Wall Street, Jesse Livermore, died of suicide. The head of the greatest monopoly, Ivar Kruger, killed himself. The president of the Bank of International Settlement, Leon Fraser, also died of suicide. Each of these men learned well that the art of earning money, but it would seem that none of them had ever learned how to live the rich life which was their birthright. It is stories like this one that have caused many well-meaning but ignorant people to say, "See, I told you, it's not good to have a lot of money, it's bad." Or it just goes to show you that rich people really aren't happy. But of course, that is just not true. For although these 8 men would appear to have slid off the track, there are many wealthy people who are very happy and who do a tremendous amount of good with their money. They live healthy, wealthy, balanced lives. Consider this. Money will have a greater influence on your life than almost any other commodity you can think of. Indeed, the sudden loss or acquisition of money will affect your attitude to a tremendous extent. Therefore, you must agree that everyone should have a deep understanding of exactly what money is and the laws governing its attraction. Yet the sad fact is that not 1 person of 10 does. 95 people out of 100 settle for whatever they get, wishing they had more all the way from the cradle to the casket, never understanding that they could actually have all they wanted. Let me digress for a moment as you journey through this book. You might have a tendency to let your mind wander off, either thinking about someone you know who has earned a great deal of money, or possibly about someone who has gone into bankruptcy. But I want to suggest that you attempt to keep focusing only on yourself. Because what someone else has or does not have is not going to affect you, and it is your financial situation that you want to improve. Isn't that right? So money is important. One of the most prevalent misconceptions concerning money relates to its importance. For example, how many times have you heard people say in conversation, "Money isn't everything," or "Money isn't important," or "I don't care about money"? Well, the people who say these things might not care about money, but I'll bet their car dealer cares about it, their grocer does, and so does the person who holds their mortgage. In truth, there can be no denial of the fact that money is important to any person living in a civilized society. Therefore, to argue that it is not as important as this or that is absurd, for nothing can take the place of money in the area in which it is used. Money is a servant. Now that I have affirmed the importance of money, let me backtrack to add this one word of caution. Always remember, money is a servant. You are the master. Be very careful not to reverse that equation, because many people of high intelligence have already done so to their great detriment. Unfortunately, many of these poor souls loved money and used people, which violated one of the most basic laws governing true financial success. You should always love people and use money, rather than the reverse. Another myth many people like to accept about money is that it only comes as a result of luck or good fortune. For instance, whenever people gather to talk about someone they know who has been financially successful, there is always someone among them who will say, Harry was just lucky, or Harry was just in the right place at the right time. But I want to assure you, in no uncertain terms, that although luck obviously plays some part in financial success, it is never a sufficient in or of itself. Money is an effect, and it always must be earned. Believe me, there are no free rides in this life, and the only people who are making money the easy way either work in the mint or are on their way to jail, if they have not already arrived there. Therefore, always bear in mind that while good fortune is a factor in financial success, it must always be coupled with effort and hard work. Money must circulate. A third thing you should know about money is that it is valuable only as long as it is being used. Once it has been taken out of circulation, it becomes as worthless as the old newspapers or empty beer cans that have been stashed away in the attic. To understand the truth of this principle, consider the following story. On a bookshelf in my home, I have a silver beer stein that was given to me as a gift for a speech I made. Now, whenever I go into my house, I take all the change from my pockets and put it into the cup. Then when the cup is almost filled, I give it to one of my children or one of my two cousins. Each of them takes turn receiving the cup, and of course they eagerly anticipate their return. The point I want you to notice, however, is that while the cup is being filled, the money in it has absolutely no value whatsoever. It just sits there, serving no useful function, not even drawing any interest. However, as soon as the cup is filled, the money is turned over to one of the kids. It literally flies into action. For instance, just last week, TJ, one of my young cousins, received the money. He immediately took it from my hand, rushed off to the golf school, and purchased several golf lessons with his inheritance. Now, I can't honestly say what the golf pro did with the money once he got it, but I do feel fairly safe in saying that he didn't just return it to the cup on the bookshelf. No, there really isn't any dispute about it. Money is not meant to be taken out of circulation. Rather, it is meant to be used, enjoyed, and circulated. This brings me to an even more dramatic illustration of the same principle, namely the story of old Mr. Chapman. Mr. Chapman was an elderly gentleman who lived a few doors down the street from our family when I was just a boy. Although there was a tremendous age difference between us, Mr. Chapman and I became fast friends, and I often used to watch him pushing his small junk cart up and down the block. You see, Mr. Chapman worked as a junk dealer, and he made his living by picking up the things other people had thrown away. As the years went by, Mr. Chapman became more and more stooped from his arduous labors, and one day, shortly after World War II, he passed away. Since he lived alone and apparently had no close relatives living nearby, the police entered his house to take stock of his possessions. Not surprisingly, they found the house littered with many old furnishings and assorted memorabilia from Mr. Chapman's past. However, much to their amazement, the police also discovered over $100,000 in old bills packed in boxes throughout the house. Quick to pick up on so unusual an occurrence, the Toronto Daily Star carried a front page story the next day about Mr. Chapman, in which it asked the obvious question, why would an individual worth well over $100,000 choose to keep his money stashed away in old boxes strewn haphazardly throughout his house? Although I was still quite young at the time, I asked myself a similar question. Namely, why would a person like Mr. Chapman choose to live like a veritable pauper when he had so much money at his disposal? He could have used his money for his own enjoyment. He could have invested it to earn a return for himself, to help create jobs for other people, or he could have just deposited in the bank and earned interest on the money. But instead, he chose to put it in a jar on the shelf, and he thereby rendered it absolutely useless. No, my friends, there isn't any doubt about it. Money is not meant to be hoarded. Rather, it is meant to be used, enjoyed, and circulated. So please, whatever you choose to do with your money, don't make the same mistake that poor old Mr. Chapman did. Please note that when I suggest that money should be kept in circulation, I do not mean it should be squandered. There is a world of difference between those two concepts, and if you haven't found out what the difference is yet, I would suggest you find out as soon as possible. I want to make one point on that story because Bob actually shared that story again yesterday, and the point of circulation, the tide goes out and the tide comes back in. Money is to keep you comfortable and to extend the good far beyond your own physical presence. And we want to make sure it's in circulation. That $100,000, and this was when Bob was a young boy. So, that $100,000 was probably from the 30s or 40s. It would have been, who knows what it would be worth today in the same equivalent. But it was absolutely useless to this man because he did nothing with it. He didn't keep it in circulation. It had no meaning on it whatsoever. Dr. Joseph Murphy talks about this and having, being economically healthy means keeping things in circulation, including your money. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you've currently got more of a poverty mindset or a lack and limitation mindset, you're going to be very tempted to hold on to what you've got, the little amount that you've got, and save. And that's only going to keep you stuck in that sort of cycle. You want to give freely, invest in things that are worthy of you, that are going to support you, grow your business, grow your team, and know that that comes back to you. And the more you understand money and what money really is, and developing this wealth consciousness and living a rich, full life, which includes money, but it also includes many other things, as we're going to discuss in this book, the easier that will become for you and the more of it you will earn. I guarantee it. If you keep money in circulation, more of it's going to keep coming back to you. So here's a prosperity consciousness exercise. Now that we have touched upon some of the characteristics of money, let us turn briefly to a simple technique, which you can begin using immediately to start attracting the amount of money you desire. The first thing I want you to do is to picture yourself in your mind's eye, sitting in a room with several friends. Then I want you to visualize yourself announcing to them your intention of becoming wealthy. And if you want to, you can put your books down at this point in time and just listen to me guide you through this exercise rather than reading along. I'd actually rather you did the exercise than followed along with the reading at this point in time. So the first thing I want you to do is to picture yourself in your mind's eye, sitting in a room with several friends. Then I want you to visualize yourself announcing to them your intention of becoming wealthy. That is an intention that you have to name it and claim it for yourself. You might have made a decision to accumulate more money, but have you really made a decision to become wealthy and prosperous? So at least wealthy enough to live the way you choose to live. Now imagine how that would make you feel. If you are like most people, you probably feel very uncomfortable. So you're visualizing being in a room with a group of friends, announcing that you're going to become very wealthy. If you are like most people, you would probably feel very uncomfortable. Perhaps you would feel so uncomfortable that you might even retract what you had said by informing your friends you were only joking. You should understand, however, that people who are wealthy never feel uncomfortable when the subject of money is brought up. Why don't they, you ask? The most obvious answer would be because they already have lots of it. But that is actually not the correct answer. You should realize that people don't feel comfortable about money because they don't have it. They have it because they feel comfortable about it. In other words, one of the reasons that wealthy people have money is that they have developed the state of consciousness we will hereinafter refer to as a prosperity consciousness. Therefore, it follows if we wish to attract money to ourselves, we must begin to foster a prosperity consciousness as well. The question you should now be asking yourself is this: how do I go about developing this prosperity consciousness for myself? Let me explain. The best way to develop a prosperity consciousness is to start seeing yourself in your mind's eye already in possession of the amount of money that you desire. The reason this is so is that since the subconscious mind cannot distinguish between the actual possession of money and mere visualization, you will soon become very comfortable with the idea of money. As a result, you will start attracting it to yourself. I just want to go back on that just for a minute to the exercise. If you replay that exercise in your imagination, so imagining that you're sitting in a room with your friends, I want you to visualize yourself announcing to that group of people that you're going to become wealthy, and notice how you feel. Did you feel in that moment quite uncomfortable? Were you tempted to retract that comment? Were you thinking, what are they going to think about me? That's going to give you a bit of an idea about how comfortable you are with the idea of being very wealthy, of being very prosperous, and having in your possession large amounts of money. And then you can start to think about where you might be sitting at the moment on this wealth consciousness, prosperity consciousness scale. Okay, so then how do you start? So let me just go over this second bit then. So what we want you to start to do is to start to visualize yourself with having a lot of money. When you think about the two parts of your mind, so I teach this in different lessons of my coaching, your subconscious mind can only accept. So as you start to visualize what you want and you start to live it in your imagination, your subconscious mind doesn't know that that's not real. And so the repetition of that will start to build belief and acceptance that you have a lot of money and that you're very comfortable with money. And the more comfortable you are with money, the more of it you're going to create. I can give you the perfect plan and tell you how to go out there and earn $1 million a year. But if I don't also teach you how to change that money paradigm where you're very comfortable with it, that you love it, that you grow it, that you keep it, that you circulate it, you'll still never have enough of it. And this is the cycle that you can very easily be caught up. And you think that the answer is just, I need to earn more money. It's actually not. We have to make a total paradigm shift, which is what I teach you how to do. So this may sound like a game you are playing, but let me assure you, it is one of the wisest things you can possibly do. For when you succeed in convincing your subconscious mind that you are wealthy and that it feels good to be wealthy, your subconscious mind will automatically seek ways of making your imaginary feelings of wealth manifest themselves in material form. It's so awesome when you start to do this and it starts to play out and you see all these things start to come to you and how easy it is. You're like, whoa, could it really be this easy to become wealthy and prosperous? But it really can be. You just need to know exactly what you're doing. In these last few lines, if these last few lines seem like sheer fantasy to you, just ignore them for the time being and continue reading. We will be dealing with prosperity consciousness at different points in the book, and I guarantee you that before you finish this book, those lines will start to make a lot more sense to you. Fear not. Now that I have touched upon a technique which will help you acquire greater wealth, let me offer this further word of warning. If you want to have money, one thing you should never do is worry about whether or not you will get the money. you desire or whether you will keep it. Let me elaborate. In the Bible, Job, the great sufferer of biblical times, makes the following remark: "Behold, the thing I fear has come to visit upon me." Now listen closely to what we're saying here. Behold, the thing I fear has come to visit upon me. Now, why did Bob just say, if you want to have money and lots of it, one thing you should never do is worry about whether or not you will get the money you desire or whether you will keep it. If you start to worry about it, what are you doing? You're invoking that fear emotion. Behold, the thing I fear, it has come to visit upon me. You will not get it and you will not keep it. Now stop and ask yourself, if you will, what those biblical words mean to those of us concerned about money today. Well, one thing they certainly mean is that if we insist upon constantly worrying about not having enough money, or if we habitually worry about losing the money we do have, then we are absolutely guaranteed not to worry in vain. For just as surely as Job was afflicted by his many maladies, so too shall we be afflicted by the lack or loss of money. To take a more contemporary example, let us again consider the tragic case of poor old Mr. Chapman. As you will recall, he was the elderly gentleman who never spent any of his hard-earned savings. But the question is, why didn't he? Most likely it was because he was afraid that if he spent his money, he would become poor and hence would be forced to live like a pauper. The irony was, however, that because of his fear, he lived like a pauper anyway. Or to be more biblical about it, the thing that he feared most came to visit upon him. Keep the money in circulation. In a later chapter, you'll be given a fuller explanation of the paradox of why we attract into our lives the very things we least desire. But for now, suffice it to say, worrying about money is always extremely counterproductive. This principle holds true even if you rationalize your worry with the old platitude that you are just saving for a rainy day. I must put forward one other caveat at this time. If you really want to significantly increase the amount of money you are presently earning, the first thing you must do is learn to pay substantially less attention to what others around you are saying and substantially more attention to what that quiet voice that speaks within you is saying. Put more prosaically, you must strive to become much less susceptible to influences outside of yourself and much more inclined to trust the instincts and feelings that lie within you. Let me elaborate. Most people who fail to accumulate enough money to live in the style they choose are the same people who are most easily influenced by other people's opinions. For instance, they are often the people who let the writers of economic doom and gloom, whether in the newspaper or on the news broadcasts, do their thinking for them. But as Napoleon Hill pointed out in his great book, Think and Grow Rich, opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. In fact, almost everyone has a flock of them ready to be foisted upon anyone who is willing to accept them. Therefore, if you know you have been unduly influenced in the past by other people's opinions, make up your mind right now, before you read any further, that from here on in, you are going to heed your own counsel while keeping an attentive ear open for God's counsel. Remember, if you do, there is absolutely no reason why you cannot become financially successful within a very reasonable period of time. Understanding versus memorization. As you read on through the pages in this book, you will develop an ever-increasing awareness of the talents and abilities that lie deep within you. You should realize that with the proper instruction, you can begin using these undeveloped talents to attract the good that you desire. But let me caution you once again, no amount of reading or memorizing will bring you the success you seek. It is only the understanding and application of the ideas in this book that will make the difference for you. Therefore, don't be in any hurry to finish the book, because a complete reading should not be your objective. As stated previously, understanding and applying what you read is the objective. So if you're able to properly digest only 1 page a day, that might be all that is necessary for you to arrive at your goal. If you're wondering why this book is meant to be sipped and tasted rather than devoured at one reading, bear in mind it is based upon over 20 years of careful analysis of the methods of both the very successful and the very unsuccessful. There's one other point that I want to make about this, and it's in terms of awareness and repetition. When we look at coaching and mentoring and having that accountability and support, it's really difficult to create change on your own. You can gather a lot of information and read the books and watch the videos, but until you've made a decision, a clear-cut, committed decision that you're going to change the course of your life, and then you make that decision to invest time and money and gain the accountability and support of a coach or mentor, it's unlikely that anything of significance is going to change. And I can say that to you because I tried that in the past. I tried to do it all by myself. And it wasn't until I made a decision to work with the best of the best, Bob Proctor, and be directly mentored and coached by him, where things really started to change, because he created an environment with accountability and support for me where I could really work on my paradigms and really take what I was learning with accountability and support and make the changes necessary day to day. It's not easy to do that by yourself. Your family think you're crazy, friends think you're crazy. You're living in a world that isn't creative, right? 97% of the population go along with the status quo and accept a poverty consciousness and accept the ideas that you should struggle to get what you want. And so this is a new way of thinking. And if you're not surrounding yourself with people who are thinking like this and creating like this with accountability and support, then you are going to be in exactly the same place 6 or 12 months from now. So keep that in the back of your mind as you go through this, that it's one thing to be here and to be exposed to the contents of this. It's another thing to make a decision that you're going to act on it, that you're going to integrate it, and you're going to learn how to actually improve the quality of your life with what you're learning. It's two different parts of the mind, and it's two different games that you're going to play. So let's keep going. Strength through sharing. One more word of advice. Since very few, if any, people become great at anything by themselves, I would suggest you attempt to find at least one other person with whom you can share and discuss the ideas presented in this book. You have the space to do that on the chats. As we go through this reading, you can pop your discussion points on the chats at the end of each session every day. Prosperity consciousness. I believe you will agree it is an observable truth that human beings will never enjoy anything they are not yet consciously aware of. For example, we did not enjoy the luxury of traveling in aeroplanes at tremendous rates of speed until the Wright brothers became consciously aware of how to fly. Thomas Edison developed the conscious awareness of the moving pictures and introduced us to a brand new form of entertainment. Dr. Jonas Salk became consciously aware of how to develop a serum that would combat the dreadful disease of infantile paralysis, more commonly referred to as polio. And as a result of Salk's new awareness, you very rarely hear of anyone contracting that disease today. Alexander Graham Bell became consciously aware of how to transmit the human voice over metallic wires, and as a result, we all enjoy the use of the telephone. Needless to say, I could go on and on citing example after example. However, the point I want to bring to the forefront of your mind is that these inventions, or the knowledge bringing about these inventions, has always been here. In fact, all the knowledge there ever was or ever will be is evenly present in all places at all times. But it took an individual to bring those thought patterns together and form ideas which developed into what we call consciousness before we could begin to benefit from them. We are floating in an ocean of thought energy where all the knowledge there ever was or ever will be is present. We are also surrounded by abundance. Indeed, everywhere we look in nature, our eyes come in contact with abundance, for nature knows no such thing as failure. Therefore, there never has been and there never will be a lack of anything except conscious awareness. Everything you want is already here. It exists in a consciousness beyond the one that you're currently living in. With a committed decision and the right information at the right time, you can literally move yourself to that new state of consciousness where you experience a new level of awareness with respect to how to earn money, how to create more freedom, how to live the life that you've always designed. That's the only thing there is lack of conscious awareness. But you can get more of that, and you can create more freedom and a better life and an improved quality of life for yourself and every single person that you come in contact with. But if you are going to begin to penetrate this world of wealth, it is absolutely essential that you begin to think. In other words, you must open your mind to the stream of thought energy, which will create an image or a consciousness of prosperity in your mind. You are well aware there are literally thousands upon thousands of honest, good, hardworking people who labor diligently for their entire stay on this planet, yet never becoming wealthy. For those individuals, life is a constant grind from sun up until sundown. But the ideas presented on these pages have been put here in the hope they will jar your mind and inspire you to open up to this new type of thinking. Consciousness is and always has been developed through thinking. And regardless of what your present situation in life may be, if you ever hope to improve it and truly become wealthy, as this book suggests you must begin thinking of prosperity in your mind now. Not when you finish the book, not when you finish the chapter, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not next year, not when the kids finish school, not when your husband or partner gets back from their trip away, not when you pay for the car mechanic, not any other time but now. You only have the present moment. The past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist, all you have is now. It must be done now. Thinking is the highest function of which a human being is capable, yet unfortunately, very few people think. They merely trick themselves into believing that because there is some mental activity taking place in their mind, they are thinking. Mental activity definitely does not constitute thinking. Mental activity is based on your paradigms, your subconscious program, which is just going to give you more of the same, which is never going to change the course of your life. But the truth is, most people are simply exercising the mental faculty called memory. They are playing old movies, so old pictures just keep flashing back on the screen of their mind. Old pictures, old results, same thinking, same results. You're a product of you. If you don't upgrade you and change you, your life's not going to change. It is imperative that you begin this new way of thinking at this moment. Because as you do, every fiber of your being will become filled with this new thought energy. Your body is comprised of millions upon millions of cells, and each one of them is influenced in its movement by thought impulses. So the second you begin entertaining relaxing thoughts, your body becomes relaxed. The instant you begin entertaining worrisome, fearful thoughts, your body becomes rigid and tense. As you begin to hold thoughts of prosperity and begin thinking of yourself as a very wealthy, prosperous individual who is surrounded by an ocean of thought energy, swimming in a sea of plenty, your body and mind will instantly move into a prosperous vibration, and you will begin to attract, just like a magnet, everything necessary for you to become wealthy. Now, that's not the law of attraction, that's the law of vibration. I know to the uninitiated, these ideas are just about as bizarre as anything a person could think of. Nevertheless, they are true. For mental awareness of prosperity always precedes wealth in your material world. It is not difficult, therefore, for children today born into families of great wealth, like the Kennedys or the Bronfmans, to think these prosperous thoughts and to have this prosperity consciousness, since that is the only type of thinking they were subjected to right from birth. We say they have been conditioned in or to prosperity. Other people have been conditioned into poverty. Otherwise, the majority of people have not been born into that kind of environment, and so they were not surrounded by that type of thinking. We must therefore develop an understanding of, number one, how we have been conditioned. 2, why we are getting the results we are getting, and 3, how we can change our way of thinking or our conditioning. That is not an easy thing to do. It takes much discipline. It takes a tremendous desire. It takes a lot of diligent effort, which is the probable reason so few people ever actually change. Yet I want you to know that regardless of how difficult it may be, it can be done, and it can be done in a relatively short period of time. But you must make a committed decision and back it with action to do it. The compensation you will receive for your effort will delight you. I know because I have done it, and I have done it. And I know many, many other people who have done the same thing. Many hundreds of my own clients have done this same thing. Now it is necessary for you to do it. The very fact that you've picked up and started reading this book is all the proof you will ever need that you truly do have a desire to change. Moreover, there is a sure way for you to receive your desired good, and this book will outline the way for you. How much more will we read? I've got a little bit more time. We'll keep going. Only a few more pages to go. There is real power within you. Below the level of your consciousness is the great treasury of your subconscious mind. And that is the part of your personality we want to begin to influence through our new thought patterns. In order to make the issue definite and concrete, consider the following statement. Any idea, plan, or purpose may be planted in the subconscious mind by repetition of thought, empowered by faith and expectancy. You might be asking, can this statement be demonstrated to be true through experimentation and observation, or is there any known method or technique by which the proof may be secured? And if there is such a method or technique, is it available to everyone? These questions can all be answered with an empathetic yes. And as you read, test, and experiment with the ideas that will come to you in the following pages, you will answer all of these questions for yourself. And it is necessary that you answer them for yourself, because as human beings, we will not truly believe something until we can actually discover it for ourselves. That's where we talk about experiential learning when that comes in. So you're studying material, you're learning how to apply it, and you're experiencing it, and you're experiencing the feedback of that experience. And from that, you can course correct to better and better results and become more and more effective with it. I look at when I started to work with Bob Proctor 5 years ago, and I am fundamentally 100% a different person today than I was 5 years ago. As you continue to study and apply what we teach and live it in your own life, you become a more effective human being. You start to live at a higher level of consciousness. You start to create in a different way. And so as you experience it for yourself, you start to really understand it, and you become more effective at it, and you realize you can use it for more important things and bigger things and have more of an impact and influence in creating a better world for yourself and improving the quality of life for every single person that you come in contact with. And remember that Bob wrote this book 20 years ago. I'm pretty sure it was like 20 years ago. He's been in this business now, teaching this for 58 years. And the work that we are creating together at the moment and doing together, I mean, it's the best of the best. He is just getting better and better. I'm just getting better and better. We're just getting started. It's such an exciting time to be studying this and be connecting with this. But think about it, like what's in here, and it was 20 years ago, and compared to what we've got today, our awareness, both individually but collectively as human beings, are so much more ready for this. The world is changing at such a great pace that if you don't keep up with it and you don't understand how to transform and reinvent yourself, then you're going to miss the boat. And I know that's not what you want. So let's keep going here. This book was written in the sincere hope that it will lead you to the many discoveries that lie within you by the repetition of these prosperity ideas. You know, when you get involved with repetition of anything, I've been studying the same material for years and with my coaching, and the material's never different, but I'm different. Every time I engage with it, I'm engaging with it with a different self-image, with a different level of consciousness, with different questions, with different problems, with different opportunities. And so the material has a livingness within it that I didn't experience the first time round. And that's what happens with repetition. When you get involved with repetition, you discover more of you. You don't discover anything more that's in here. And reading this, you're not reading what's in this book. You're discovering yourself as we go through this. You must begin to see money as an obedient, diligent servant that you can employ to earn more money, and that you can use to provide services far beyond the service that you could ever physically provide. It is necessary that you feel comfortable when you talk about money, because you have truly been born rich. You know, I remember one of the first times I picked up this book, and I distinctly recall being on a flight, and I was embarrassed about reading this book because I didn't understand. I didn't even understand what this really meant. And I remember sitting on that flight and not wanting people to see that I was reading a book to do with wealth and being rich, because I didn't really understand what rich and wealth really meant. But if you want to have money and have large amounts of money and make a big difference in your own life and be able to extend that to other people and live a rich, full, holistic life, being wealthy and rich in all areas, you've got to become very comfortable with this and really develop a prosperity consciousness, which is so much more than just money. It's feeling good. It's feeling wealthy. It's enjoying experiences that make you comfortable. You know, that's what money is there to keep you comfortable. The more comfortable you are, the more creative you're going to be. The more ideas you're going to receive, the more of your potential that you'll develop. Keep money in circulation. Keep growing you. And I promise you, more and more of it will come back to you. The tide goes out, the tide comes in. The bigger the tide goes out, the bigger the tide comes in. But you've got to understand this. You've got to understand the laws. And the more you do that, the more faith you have that you do know you are working properly in harmony with the law. Because you can do that, but not understand this and think, well, shit, it didn't come back in. But you didn't understand what you were doing. You didn't have the confidence to know whether you're working in harmony with the law or not, so that the tide did come back in. You know what I mean? So it's really important that you're not just trying to get ahead on blind faith. You've really got to understand this, which means understanding yourself. And you weren't taught this at school. And if your parents didn't get it, you were not going to get it. So if you don't invest in you to learn this, you're never going to have it, and you're most certainly never going to be able to pass it on to your next generation. So it is important that you're comfortable talking about money, because you have been born rich. Now, I love it when Bob says that everyone is born rich. Some people are just a little short of money. Two completely different things. You have all the mental tools necessary to attract the thoughts you are surrounded by, to create the consciousness that you must create in order for you to have the wealth you choose to have. Lack and limitation can only exist when we make room for them in our minds. But prosperity consciousness knows no lack and limitation. If you've got a highlighter with you next time, bring that highlighter. I would be underlining that. That's a very important thing for you to remember. A prosperity consciousness knows no lack and limitation. And you don't develop a prosperity consciousness because you've got a lot of money. You develop a prosperity consciousness before you've got it, so that you can receive an abundance of it. Make sense? Resolve to completely remove the lid from your marvelous mind with respect to your own earning ability, and understand that the wealth you are seeking is and always has been seeking you in return. So open wide the doors of your conscious mind now and begin to receive it. Mental money. Begin immediately to play a mental game with yourself. Get into the habit of visualizing yourself in the possession of great wealth. Think of some of the things you would do with that money and then mentally start doing them. Since your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between actually doing something and visualizing yourself doing it, this exercise will very quickly help you to develop a prosperity consciousness. Remember, it is an absolute law of your being that you must have something mentally before you will ever have it physically. Also understand that everyone talks to themselves mentally. In fact, some people even do it out loud. Therefore, whenever you are carrying on your private conversation with yourself, always talk about how good it feels to be wealthy. Congratulate yourself on becoming wealthy and hearing others congratulating you as well. And if you see someone that's wealthy, send good energy their way. Don't question them. Don't look upon them with annoyance that they're making it happen and you're not. The best thing you can do is to send good, to send congratulations, to celebrate their success with them and send good energy. If you want more of it to come to you, then give it out to other people. You should realize that although this might appear to be a game you are playing, you are doing one of the wisest things you could possibly do. You are working from a higher to a lower potential. You are embarking on a program of self-development. You are about to learn that there is much more to yourself than meets the eye, and you must apprehend this hidden factor of your personality if you are ever to develop yourself properly. In truth, you will never see the greatest part of your being because it is the non-physical in nature. In fact, you will soon become aware that you are constantly living simultaneously on 3 distinct planes of being. You are a spiritual being, you have an intellect, and you live in a physical body. To understand this abstraction better, you must keep in mind that you are living simultaneously on 3 distinct planes of existence. The spiritual plane of thoughts, which is your highest potential, the intellectual plane of ideas, your middlest potential, and the physical plane of results, your lowest potential. The last and lowest level that anything will ever manifest on is physical. It's the last place that you'll see anything show up. You've got to have it spiritually and mentally before you can manifest it physically. Therefore, by doing what I have suggested you do, you are merely using your divine nature to choose the thoughts, i.e. money is good, I love people and use money, money is a servant, I am the master, which will build an idea. In our case, the idea happens to be that of great personal wealth or true financial success. Be very aware that ideas, such as the idea of financial success, never form by themselves. The human personality must always enter into the process by thinking the thoughts which can then be used to build the idea. And the idea is then an image. So you're starting to change your perception of yourself. That is the very thing that makes the human being godlike, or you could say a creative creature, the highest form of creation. So by holding this beautiful idea or picture of financial success in your mind, you will ultimately be able to cause the idea to manifest itself in your life, in your results. As you progress through this book, you will see how this actually occurs. Now let's take a couple of steps backwards. You will remember that I wrote in a previous paragraph that you are working from a higher to a lower potential. What I meant by this is that you are working from thoughts, which is spirit, to idea, which is intellectual, to thing, which is physical. Rather than working from thing, which is the way most people work, the physical, to thoughts, what will I think about that, to idea, which is the intellectual. So we're always working to that, from that higher to that lower plane, from the inside to the outside. As you have probably done in the past, and the vast majority of people will continue to do in the future, and you'll continue to do this as well. Just because you're aware of this doesn't mean anything's going to change for you. That is to say, most people will look at a result in their life and then let that result dictate the thoughts they will then use to build the idea. So your thoughts are based on your results, not on what you want, which is why you keep getting the same results. Get it? For example, if they see their bank account is empty, a result, they will choose to think thoughts of lack or loss, and then they will use those thoughts to build the idea of poverty. However, since the idea they are holding in their mind must manifest in their future results, they are actually bringing about a repeat performance of the very thing which they say they don't want, namely an empty bank account. It thus becomes a self-doom fulfilling cycle they are living, and clearly this is not the way our Maker has intended for us to live. You might very well be saying to yourself that it is an absurd argument for if a bank account is empty, it's empty. It's just isn't realistic to look at an empty bank account and be able to visualize great wealth. But I want you to know this is the very kind of reasoning which perpetuates poverty and keeps poor people impoverished. You must begin to understand that the present state of your bank account, your sales, your health, your social life, your position at work, etc., is nothing more than the physical manifestation of your previous thinking. If you sincerely wish to change or improve your results in your physical world, you must change your thoughts, and you must change them immediately, right now, this very instant. You must make a change. If you take the time to really think through the information which is being presented, you will conclude that what has just been said makes perfect sense. In fact, anyone who truly understands the creative process will tell you what I have just said is not only right, but it is the natural law of your being. It is the way God works with and through the individual. This is also called prayer in some circles. Prayer being the movement that takes place between spirit and form, with and through the individual. God has given you the ability to build any idea which you desire. You were born rich, and your abundance is contained in thought. I want you to highlight that. You've got your highlighter there. You were born rich, and your abundance is contained in thoughts. What are you thinking about? What ideas are you getting emotionally involved with? What images are you holding in the quiet moments of the morning or getting ready, driving the kids to school? Where is your mind at? Is it focused on what you want or what you don't want? So be good to yourself. Choose magnificent ideas and cease permitting physical world to control your thinking. Stop letting what's going on outside you influence your decisions and how you're going to feel and the actions that you're going to take. You've got to go within. It's going to take courage to do this. It's going to take discipline to do it. But as you do it, you're going to start to experience true freedom, and it's going to allow you to start to live the life that you've always imagined. You can readily understand by now how everyone makes the great mistake. In Emerson's essay on self-reliance, he said, envy is ignorance. In other words, to look at another person's accomplishments or results and then to envy them is truly unwise. Remember I spoke about this earlier? For those people first chose their thoughts in order to build the picture in their mind of the good that is now manifest in their life. And they chose those thoughts from the infinite source of supply, which is available to all of us, you as well. You can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. That is what the great artist Vincent van Gogh meant when he was asked how he did such beautiful work. He said, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream. In other words, he saw the picture in his mind first, and then he made a replica on canvas in oil of the original in his mind. In truth, there has never been an original Van Gogh sold. As I am writing this, I can see you reading it, and I can almost hear you thinking, that makes a lot of sense. Now I see. A few years ago, Mary Snyder from California sat in one of my seminars with her husband, Oscar. She gave me a quote by Lincoln, which I truly love and which I have shared with thousands of people. Lincoln said, to believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all. But to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. Isn't that beautiful? Thanks again, Mary. Hopefully by now you understand the wisdom of some of these mental exercises I have been suggesting. So keep repeating. I am prosperous, I am wealthy, money is good. See yourself in your mind's eye doing what you will do when you have the manifestation of your new attitude or consciousness. Visualize this great wealth and feel yourself already in possession of it. Remember, though money is the servant, you are the master. You love money, love people, and use money. Love people and use money. Before you continue on to the next chapter, reread this chapter, Me and Money, because rereading it will help you release the old idea about money, which causes an uncomfortable feeling whenever the subject of money is raised. I have no problem asking people about money. How much do you earn? How much did you earn last year? How much do you want to earn? You want to become super comfortable with money, talking about it, creating it, earning it, keeping it, growing it, spending it, investing it, giving it away. Keep it in circulation. Repeat to yourself several times each day, me and money, me and money, me and money. I love money, money and me, until you become totally aware of how good you feel thinking about wealth. Refrain from talking to a lot of people about this new idea concerning money until you have a firm grip on it yourself and feel confident about explaining what you have learned to others. I think this is a really important point, and I'm so grateful that Bob's put it in here, because not a lot of people are going to think like this, and they might think you're a little crazy. And if you're not rock solid on this yet, You're going to be very easily swayed by the opinions of other people. So follow that quiet voice within. You're here for a reason. You follow me for a reason. Trust that. Have faith in that. And make your own decisions and refrain from asking anyone else what they think you should do. Refrain from talking about this with a lot of people until you're really comfortable with the idea of it. When you're really comfortable with the idea of it, doesn't matter who you tell, because it doesn't matter what they think, it's not going to rock your boat. But if it's going to rock your boat at the moment, then just sit quietly and just study this and follow that quiet voice within and make your own decisions. Remember, hearing negative comments from people who do not understand the truth will not do you any good. If it does anything, it will only cause you to doubt yourself. You must not permit this to happen, because when you think about me and money, you want a beautiful picture fly on the screen of your mind. You want to think about all the beautiful things that you can do together with money, all the places that you can go, all the people you can help, all the beautiful things that you can have and experience. That's what you want to be thinking about when you think about money. And to finish, one little quote to wrap up here. The good life is expensive. There is another way to live that doesn't cost as much, but it isn't any good. I love that. The good life is expensive. There is another way to live that doesn't cost as much, but it isn't any good. Decide to live the good life. Decide to become wealthy and abundant and prosperous. Decide to have in your possession large amounts of money and be very comfortable with it. So that's it for chapter 1. We'll see you back here tomorrow for chapter 2. And I'll talk to you then. Bye.